I just accepted what he gave me and believed that he trusted me with that to show others that they can still be used with this. They can still have a beautiful life with this. They can still be loved with this. It doesn't have to be taken away from them for them to be made whole.
Okay. I heard some things about you. Things too good to be true. But I can't.
Hey y'all, it's your girl AK. I know it's been a minute, but I'm back, and today I'm sharing a really special testimony with you all. So I'm so excited at what the Lord is gonna do. He has placed this on my heart for a while, and there was just a lot of back and forth, but I'm finally doing it. I finally build up the courage and understanding and just realizing that he's still writing this story. So it's okay for me to share that it's an ongoing progression. So the testimony that I'm going to be talking about today is essentially my experience with contracting HSV2, which essentially is genital herpes. So let's start from the beginning. So y'all may already know this, but I'm someone that grew up in the church, and I grew up in the church at a very young age. I got saved, speaking in tongues, all the different things. And I began to love the Lord. Once I went off to college and started experiencing different things, was exposed to different things, I would say like the influences definitely started affecting me a lot deeper, and my relationship with God wasn't as strong. I still knew him, I still loved him, but I definitely was not walking in obedience or living for him the way I was when I was a little younger, before I started experiencing a lot of what life brings. One of the main things in regard to this testimony was my sexuality. So growing up, I just knew already that wait for marriage, no sex before marriage. And that was the goal. As a lot of people experience at a young age, especially in Black and African households, because your parents don't have these conversations with you. Yes, they tell you wait for marriage and, that's what God wants. They don't explain to you on a deep level what's out there, like the spirit of lust. Why it's important to wait, besides the fact that the Bible just says to do it. There's really no explanation. So I was still trying to wait, but around that age, 7 to 13, you kind of start experimenting with friends and stuff like that. And I had an experience like that. I wouldn't say I had sex or anything like that, but we started becoming very curious. I'll just put it like that. But I was still adamant about waiting until I was married. I got into a relationship. It was probably my first serious relationship. It was long distance, and I kind of started getting involved sexually. But I was as long as I don't have intercourse, I'll be good. And that's kind of the mindset that I had, not knowing that is also a form of sex, right? So that didn't work out. And then I got into probably the second most serious relationship, longest relationship that I was in, when I was in college. And that changed everything. Not only did I make it clear, that I wanted to wait for marriage and I didn't want to go all the way or whatever, you call it, but that wasn't accepted. It wasn't accepted. It wasn't respected. And in fact, I was pressured, on multiple occasions and told that that's not something he wanted. And, being someone that was in love and being someone that was just kind of experiencing a lot of different things, I gave in. And that's how I began having actual sex, actual intercourse. And from there, the can of worms were open. At that time, I was also involved in a lot of different things as a college student, going out, drinking, partying, all of that. So all of that come into play. And when my relationship with that particular person in college ended, he was the only person I was with in that way. So when that ended, my curiosity, my mind wanted to explore. Mind you, I was still loving the Lord. I was still going to church, but I was very much lukewarm, obviously. And it's I knew it was wrong, but I just wasn't being obedient towards it. So, just began having multiple partners, just all the different things, just kind of living in a way that was not pleasing to the Lord. You know, I was using my body for validation, all the different things, but still trying to please God. And we know, like, it really doesn't go hand in hand. So then in 2020, I moved to Atlanta. And, you know, moving out there was a step of faith in a sense, because I'm not someone that's always been at home. I travel a lot. And with my experience with the military, I experience a lot, like, being away from home. So moving wasn't really anything that was crazy to me, but it was going to be the first time I was actually on my own. Like, not with the military, you know, not with another person. Like, I'm just out here on my own. And of course, you know, I heard about Atlanta. I heard about the things, and everybody told me, be careful, be careful. But during that time is when I was experimenting with a lot of different things. And on Hinge, you know, the dating apps, and, you know, I did all I could to be quote unquote safe. But I ended up, you know, getting into somewhat of a relationship with a particular guy. And I'm thinking, like, we're exclusive. You know, I was exclusive to him. You know, I'm thinking it's just us two. But that was not the case. And at this point, you know, yes, we're sexually involved. It's a constant thing. We're seeing each other all the time. You know, it's just this constant cycle. And I remember a specific instance where I kind of noticed something on, you know, his private part. And I asked, I was like, what is that? And he was like, oh, you know, it just kind of, you know, friction or something like that. But eventually, like, you know, it'll be fine. It'll go back to normal. And as someone that was still a little bit newer when it came to that type of stuff, I did not know that much about STDs or STIs. I did not know. I've never had anything besides, like, a yeast infection or UTI. So I did not even know what to look for, what to recognize. Like, yes, sometimes we use protection. Other times we didn't. It was just kind of like, you know, here and there. And it wasn't until, I can't remember what month, but I would say, like, going towards, like, fall of 2020, after dealing with each other for months, I started feeling sick. I started feeling uncomfortable down there. And I ended up coming home. That year when I moved, I was coming home so frequently because I was just, like, homesick, and I just wasn't as settled in Atlanta. So I came home and I just started feeling so weird. Like, you know, when I peed, it burned. I just started feeling a lot of different things, and I didn't know what it was about. And because it was COVID, it was really difficult to be seen. So I was like, okay, let me just do a virtual visit. I did a virtual visit. I explained everything. And immediately, the doctor or nurse, they were like, you need to come in. This is very important. You need to come in and get tested for herpes. When I tell y'all, my heart dropped to the floor. Like, I just was like, what? Like, because mind you, I still did not know that much about it. Like, I believe the stigma. I believe what everyone else was saying about it. So I'm like, so I'm finna be stuck with this? Like, you know, just all the different thoughts. So I just started praying immediately. And I was getting ready to go back to Atlanta. So I went in, I got tested. I don't think I had the results until I got to Atlanta. He picked me up from the airport. I kind of told him what was going on, what the possible, you know, like, diagnose would be. And he was like, he kind of started freaking out, but it wasn't, like, at the same level that I was, you know, anxious. He was, like, a little bit calmer. But when it came down to it, and I got the actual results, and it was positive, I felt like my life was over. I'm not even gonna lie. I felt like my life was over. And that's when it was just, like, full-on attack mode towards him. It was like, because it was just like, there's no other way I could get this. There's no other way I could get this. He's the only person I've been seeing. You know, that moment where I noticed something but didn't really look that much into it. I just believed what he said. The only thing that made sense was it came from him. Now, I still don't know for sure, because a lot of people, they have it and it's dormant. So they have it, but it just doesn't show up. They don't have symptoms. So I don't know, but I came to the conclusion that it was from him. And I addressed it. I was like, have you been, seeing other people? And he pretty much was like, well, I didn't know we were exclusive. What? Now, that's one thing. Yes, I was exploring and stuff like that, but I always made sure I only had one partner. And I always made sure I was being somewhat safe. Yes, I wasn't doing what I needed to do, but I was trying to cover it up and make it better. Obviously wasn't doing that because I wasn't being obedient and I wasn't, really following the Lord like I should have. But yeah, he was like, I didn't know we were exclusive. So that essentially told me everything I needed to know. So I cut him off and I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I went through months of like crying myself to sleep, just like so much shame and pain and regret. It was so much regret. And I couldn't understand why God would do this to me. But now I see that it was protection from him. He needed to get my attention. He needed to get my attention because had this not happened, I would not have ran back to him like the prodigal child, and I would not be where I am right now. I probably would still be out exploring. Like that was a huge turning point in my faith. It was a huge turning point in my faith. And at the beginning of it, I was just like praying, like I was like, this can't be reality. Like this cannot be real. Like it was just like a lot. Luckily, I had a support team around me. I had some other women that experienced something similar. So they were supporting me, telling me, how it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to live. You're not going to die. Like, this is not the end. It's not the worst thing. Like, it's just the stigma that makes it, feel so horrible. But you can live with this. You can serve God with this. And you can find love with this. So I felt relieved. But for the first, I would say 1.5 to 2 years, it was very difficult. For a while, I didn't really date because I felt like nobody was going to accept me. I felt like it was just too embarrassing to even talk about. So I was just kind of like staying to myself. And then that spirit came back out. And this time, of course, it was scary every time to disclose it. But I was just like, I see that it doesn't matter. Like, I can still have someone. I can still have intercourse. I can still do, what I was doing before. Now I just need to disclose. So that's what I started doing. I was disclosing, but still living a life that was not pleasing to the Lord. Still involved in fornication. Still doing these different things. And obviously it didn't help. Throughout the entire thing, a lot of times it was just like that's all they wanted. And other times I was treated like just used and abused, like even with that fact. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But over the years, it's been like five years and some months now. Over the years, more and more, God just started changing my heart towards it. And I really didn't experience true peace until I forgave myself and stopped fornicating, stopped having these different relations, and truly turned to God. So yeah, fast forward to, let's say like 2-ish years ago. At that point, I know I have it. I'm taking care of myself. I'm at peace with it, but I'm no longer involved like sexually with men. Like, I'm like turned and focusing towards God. And honestly, a huge turning point was I was just after God's heart. Like 2022, 2023, transformation really started happening. And I had the foundation of who I was when I was younger, growing up in the church. But now it was time to know him for myself after everything I had gone through. And this was not something that I thought about anymore, honestly. It only came up when it came to dating and maybe when I had outbreaks sometimes. Other than that, I honestly forgot I had it. Like, it just was not super relevant. It did not affect me like I thought it affected me. I only had outbreaks once in a while, maybe like close to my period, but over time it has lessened. And one of the main things I have gotten out of this entire experience is perspective. And I say that because at first I was just kind of really upset about, now I have to disclose this information every single time, right? And that sucks. I don't want to do that. But then it became a form of discernment and protection. Because now if you're a believer and you're a man of God, and you know, you're after me and I'm after you, and we're dating, and we have these different goals to be together or whatever it might be, if I disclose something like that to you as a man of God or as the person that God has for me, you will accept that. So whenever someone didn't accept it or made me feel disgusting or made me, you know, put me down about it, I knew instantly they were not the one. But I also was very discerning on who I even told. Like, for example, if I'm talking with you, we're getting to know each other, maybe we go on a date or whatever, and you're saying little things or you're just responding in a way that shows me that you're either hypersexual or just kind of immature, I will not disclose it to you, because I just already know, like, with my discernment, that you are not going to accept me and you don't even deserve to know that information. So my perspective shifted from, oh my goodness, why did God do this to me? This is terrible. This is horrible. I'm not going to find love. I'm not going to find, you know, all these different things, to know this is something that the Lord has given me. So now I can not only discern, but now I can share my testimony about it, because the story is still ongoing, but I'm not thinking about it in a way where it's a disease or it's something that has taken away from who I am. No, it's something that has actually added to who God has called me to be. So again, I'm still dating. I'm still doing all these different things. I'm, you know, practicing abstinence. It was not an easy process, but I'm practicing that to the best of my ability. And finally, the Lord reunites me with my husband. And when we first met, this was not my situation. So before we even began dating again, before we, you know, started going through the courting process, I had to disclose this to him. And one of the main reasons I knew he was my husband was because of how he took it. So obviously, like, we're long distance, so this was like a phone call thing. And I told him, I was like, this is my reality now. Do you have questions? How do you feel about it? And he assured me that he does not look at me differently. He still loves me. He still wants me to be his wife. He just wants to understand what it means for us. And I explained that to him. And it was just so encouraging to me, because had I had that mindset that I'm not going to be loved again, I'm worthless, you know, all these different thoughts that a lot of people that go through this, specifically women, the thoughts that they have, it could have stopped me from still pursuing, you know, marriage or whatever else that God had for me. But I decided, like, I'm not going to think like that. Like, not only is it not affecting me as negatively as I expected, but I'm still after God. I can still live my life. I can still be used by God. And that's all that matters. That's literally all that matters. Now, it took me a while to share this testimony, because recently I had a situation where I realized I never asked God to heal me. And I think that's the number one prayer a lot of us pray when we are diagnosed with this. And I never asked God to heal me of it, because I assumed he gave it to me or he allowed me to have it for a reason. And because of that, I was okay with it. So I went to the altar at my church, and I just felt like God was calling me, you know, to be healed in this area. So I prayed, I saw him, I shared my testimony in a space that I never thought I would. And it blessed so many people. And I thought that was it. But I kept feeling a tugging pull to go get retested. And I wasn't 100% confident, honestly, because like I said, I have never asked God to heal me. I just accepted what he gave me and believed that he trusted me with that to show others that they can still be used with this. They can still have a beautiful life with this. They can still be loved with this. It doesn't have to be taken away from them for them to be made whole. And that is my main testimony, because when I went back to get retested, it was still positive. And of course I was confused, but it was obedience. And literally today at church, the pastor said, if faith is only real when it works in your favor, that is not faith, that is transaction. And that is exactly what I was doing. I was thinking because I'm obedient, the Lord has to heal me. But that's not how it works. And he's still writing my story. But I know I am confident and secure in who I am with this. And he has trusted me with it for a reason. So I'm not looking for healing necessarily, because I'm already content. I'm already whole with who God has called me to be with herpes. And now, I'm more confident in sharing my testimony about it because I know it's going to bless somebody else. So for anyone out there that just found out, or anyone out there that has been struggling with it, God has a plan. You are still loved. You are still worthy. You are still whole with it, whatever it might be. And you can still find love if that is according to his purpose. If that is a desire that you have and it aligns with the plan that he has for you, you will experience that even with this. And use this as an opportunity to discern while you're dating. As an opportunity to know that you are not dirty. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. You are still loved and God still wants to use you. So I hope this blessed somebody. It was a lot, but I feel so grateful that I have this space to share with you all. And I would love to answer any questions. So if you have any, comment below. I will respond. I want us women to know that we are not alone. So many people have this and they don't talk about it. So many. The more I share, the more I find out people that I already know, people that I grew up with, people that, I'm like associates with, they have this, but they don't talk about it because of shame and guilt. And that is not of the Lord. You are free. But freedom might not look like healing or a negative result. Freedom could simply be the fact that you have accepted this and you know that you are still called. You know that you are still worthy. You know that you are still loved, even with this. So I hope this blesses at least one person. And even if it doesn't, I'm doing it out of obedience. And I just pray that God is pleased. So thank you for watching. God bless you. I hope you have a beautiful day and week.
See the things I do. 'Cause I never seen love like that.